In my eyes, squirrels have very few redeeming qualities. They are annihilators of my flowers, diggers of destruction, spreaders of seeds which then turn into trees and flowers in places I do not want trees or flowers. And they are supreme torturers to my dog. They are tree rats. But the other day, as I was cooking in my kitchen, I looked out the window to see the neighborhood tree rat doing his daily squirrel acrobatics. And it was by watching this furry little tree rodent that I realized I may not like squirrels, but they do offer some valuable life lessons that may be especially applicable when we face uncertainty. Welcome to Limitless Thoughts, a podcast series from Limitless Life Counseling where we explore questions, thoughts, ideas, and emotions. If you've missed our other podcasts, you can check them out at limitlesslifecounseling.podbean.com. And I would love for you to become a follower of these podcasts and to share them with others, because together we can bring more light to the world. When I was growing up, my dad built this amazing playhouse in our backyard. It had a lower deck and an upper deck. By the way, Dad, thanks for building the best playhouse in the neighborhood. My playhouse had a walnut tree on one side and a cottonwood tree on the other side, and the squirrels used the upper deck railing as a squirrel superhighway to get from one tree to the other tree. But there was one slight challenge. The cottonwood tree was just far enough away from the playhouse that if the squirrels did not jump from the outermost edge of the railing, they would totally miss the closest tree branch and belly flop into the grass and then hope they could outrun the dogs to the tree trunk. We watched many a squirrel biff it on the lawn. And only one slow squirrel actually lost a few tail hairs when the dogs almost won their never-ending battle against those squirrels. The squirrel I was watching from my kitchen window reminded me of those childhood squirrels. This neighborhood squirrel doing similar acrobatic leaps, flinging himself from one tree branch to another, some of the branches bending and swaying so that his little paws had to tighten their grip to avoid a long drop to the ground. But in watching him do these death-defying stunts, never did it look like he was scared. I will admit I'm not an expert in squirrel body language or even squirrel chatter, but my impression was he was filled with trust and full of optimism that he would reach his branch, which triggered the thought of, what if we, as humans, had that same trust and optimism? This same squirrel that does crazy acrobatics outside my window is also incredibly curious. Maybe he's a private investigator or a scientist in the squirrel world because he has a daily routine of investigating everything within his territory. He has no hesitation in sticking his head into flower pots, peering over the fence, inspecting car tires, pulling leaves off the tree and testing them in his mouth before tossing them to the ground, and staring through the window at me. Again, I'm not an expert in squirrels, but curiosity seems to be an important part of his day. His curiosity providing him with some measure of understanding and meaning of his world, perhaps? Or maybe his curiosity is simply for amusement. Watching this furry-tailed rat has me wondering, what if we were like squirrels? Not in the literal sense, of course, but what if we had the trust and curiosity of a squirrel? What do I mean by trust and curiosity? Let's talk about it. Trust. As I watch this squirrel leap from tree branch to tree branch, he never hesitates. He throws himself out there into that wide open space, trusting the tree branch will be there. It was the same for those squirrels of my childhood. They would race across the deck railing and without pause launch themselves for the big old cottonwood tree. And 9 times out of 10, they would land in the tree. And 9 times out of 10, the squirrel outside my window grabs his branch. What if we had the same mentality? Trusting that 9 times out of 10, when we make a choice, make a decision, commit to a project, commit to a relationship, step into vulnerability, that it will work out. Those are pretty good odds to have in our mind. When you consider that, you might say, though, maybe it works out, but not like I expected. Okay. When that branch bends much lower than the squirrel expects, he just grips his paws tighter, pivots his body, and reaches for the next branch. And the same could be true for you. Maybe it didn't work out exactly how you planned, but you are still on the metaphorical branch. Maybe all you need to do is pivot in your thinking, pivot in your expectations, ask for more help. Or maybe it's even letting go of the metaphorical branch that's bending so you can reach for the next branch. Still others of you might be thinking, but what about the 1 time out of 10 it doesn't work out? Or the squirrels from your childhood that biffed it on the lawn? Because that's me. That's my life. Actually, that's all of us. We all have metaphorical crashes and burns in our lives. But remember how I said even those squirrels that fell to the ground still got up and made it to the tree? We are all going to experience mistakes, failures, disappointments. We are all going to miss a tree branch. But that doesn't mean we can't get up and still make it to the tree, make it to our goal. We all have resilience or the ability to bounce back and recover. What about curiosity? First, let me give you some definitions of curiosity. A strong desire to know or learn something. Inquisitive. Wondering. To figure something out. Did you notice something about those definitions? Not one of those definitions included the words judgment or reluctance. To be curious is to gain more knowledge, to gain more information without judgment. Being curious is to have a willingness to engage in learning or figuring something out. A willingness to engage in a process, a willingness to engage in life. What if we woke up each day with the curiosity of a squirrel? What if we approached each day, approached the work meeting, approached the relationship, approached the new job, approached parenting, approached our lives with a willingness to engage without judgment? If you have ever engaged in curiosity, there is very little required except an openness for knowledge and information. Actually, if you think about it, curiosity welcomes uncertainty and is a friend to opportunity. If you're curious, to dive a little bit deeper into the benefits of living life with curiosity, a future episode will explore more deeply how curiosity benefits us. So back to our 2 words for today, trust and curiosity. These words seem to be counterbalances to uncertainty. By uncertainty, I mean those times in life where we don't know the answer or we don't know what will happen. Do you ever experience uncertainty in life? Like when you don't know the quote-unquote right decision to make, or try to figure out if this is the right relationship, or when you don't know if your teenager is driving safely, or when you are waiting for the test results, or when you wonder if this dinner is really going to turn out like the recipe, or whether you're going to get the job promotion, or if you're going to keep your job, or what the weather is going to be. Wow. Feels like much of life is uncertain. But how many of us actually like uncertainty? Seems like many of us are pretty skillful at avoiding uncertainty. For example, do some of you avoid uncertainty with judgment? judging a situation or a person so you have an excuse to not engage because you are uncertain of the outcome? Or do some of you avoid uncertainty with indecisiveness, making no decision, which, by the way, is actually a decision, so as to avoid the wrong decision? Do some of you avoid uncertainty by planning, only engaging in an experience, a vacation, a relationship, if you can know everything in advance? But do we ever know for certain, even when we think we've planned for everything? Do some of you avoid uncertainty with routine or habit, engaging in the same behaviors, the same relationships, the same patterns of thought, the same news feed, eating the same food, because to do something different is uncertain? We all have ways of avoiding uncertainty, because uncertainty can bring fear, anxiety, a mix of distressing emotions. But what if instead of having our lives driven by strategies and attempts to avoid uncertainty, what if our lives were driven by trust and curiosity? What if we lived our lives a little more like a squirrel with an optimistic trust that the tree branch will be there 9 times out of 10, and that we have the resilience to survive the one time we don't make it to the metaphorical branch? And that we would invite curiosity into our lives so that we might invite knowledge, information, opportunity, and uncertainty into our lives. Because uncertainty will always be present. That is a certainty. I wonder if that tree route outside my window ever feels uncertain about his world. If he does, he seems not to run from it or hide from it, but rather seems to engage every day with trust and curiosity. My hope is that we might learn from squirrels that life is worth engaging in even if there is uncertainty. Those furry little tree rats do offer some wisdom. What? Wait a minute. If you'll excuse me, I see that little tree rat is digging up some of my flowers. Till next time. Thanks for listening.